if you're a creditor of a company that's going into liquidation and you have concerns about the conduct of the directors and you think that they might have hoovered up company assets, misappropriated company's assets, maybe you even suspect there's been fraudulent conduct and so on, can you do anything? Well, the answer is you can. And in fact, perhaps potentially one of the best times to do something is before a liquidator is actually appointed. You may have concerns. It's not uncommon for the directors to initiate the liquidation process, particularly in the case of an insolvent liquidation when a company is going into what's known as creditors voluntary liquidation. And the liquidator will start the process by instructing a liquidation firm, a firm of insolvency practitioners, and they will typically nominate a practitioner of their choice to be the liquidator. Now, you may have concerns. I mean, obviously, all insolvency practitioners are independent and have the same basic duties, but you may still, nevertheless, and not unreasonably, have concerns, if nothing else, the perception of the process of the director who you have real concerns about being the individual who can select potentially who the office holder, the liquidator, might be. And you may have those concerns, and those concerns may be unfair on the liquidator that the director's selected, but the point is you may nevertheless still have those concerns, and you may want to appoint your own liquidator or consult and canvass other creditors and together appoint a liquidator of your nomination rather than going along with the nomination of the director. Now, you are absolutely entitled to do this. Every single creditor can nominate exactly who they want to be as liquidator. Ultimately, they've got to get that liquidator's agreement to be able to put their name forward through what's known as a consent to act procedure. But ultimately, once you've got that, a creditor can nominate their own liquidator. And a good time to do that, if you have concerns, is before the company actually goes into liquidation. And you may want to consult with other creditors and get together and nominate a particular practitioner. And there's potentially good reason for doing that, particularly if there's this perceptional question that you don't want the director to pick the liquidator, in effect, particularly when there's been concerns about director misconduct. And what you have to do is all fill in the documentation that comes out of the organisation that's been instructed to convene the meeting of creditors or the decision procedure or the deemed consent procedure, whichever procedure has been used to put the company into liquidation. And so long as you get your proof of debt form in, and as long as you get your voting forms in, it's very important that these forms are filled in correctly. Many creditors don't fill them in quite right, and they can then be overlooked. It is important that because it's a formal legal process, it's not a trivial matter that these documents have to be filled in correctly. It's no good sending in a proof of debt form, which is required to say how much you're owed, if you don't, for example, at the top of the form, state the name of the creditor that is owed this money. It cannot be assumed just simply because it's attached to an email that it's going to be accepted that the creditor is the person who sent the email. It has to be stated on the form. Those forms have to be signed. Same goes for any voting forms, and the position of the creditor in those forms has to be clearly stated, and the amount that they are owed clearly stated. If you get all those ducks in a row nice and neatly, then you can potentially get your chosen office holder appointed as the office holder, the liquidator, to do whatever review, investigations and so on that you think are required. Ultimately, even then, the office holder is independent from the creditors, but at least you have the potential peace of mind that is somebody that you have nominated and not somebody that the person whose conduct you're concerned about has nominated. Questions, queries, concerns, give us a shout. We know insolvency inside out.